Welcome back to Solo Adventures. My name is Livy, and I'm here yet again with another BGG Solitaire PnP contest game review. So today the game we're going to be looking at is Dungeon Flee, a deck builder about escaping a dungeon. So as usual, if you're not interested in actually watching me play this game, you can feel free to skip to the end to hear my final thoughts. Otherwise, let's venture forth. Okay, so when we get set up for Dungeon Flee, there's a few steps that we need to take. First off, we need to separate all the cards out by type. So in one pile, take all of these empty corridors and add in the 3 door cards. So this will make up a pile. There's going to be another pile that has the 2 dead ends and the 4 stairs up, and that will be a pile. One pile of the treasures. And then you separate the monsters and traps by their levels. So here's level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7 are together. 7 is the final boss, and it will be hidden in among with the other level 6 monsters. So, when we set up the game, yes, first of course we have to separate the cards, and then we turn them over. Now we need to make sure that this corridor and door deck is shuffled up. Alright, so now we're going to put 3 cards in this pile, 2 here, 5 here, and 3 in each of these. Okay. So now what we have to do is we have to shuffle each of these little piles independently. Oh, and I forgot, the treasure cards. So the way that you distribute the treasure cards really depends on what kind of difficulty you want. The manual doesn't really go into exactly how you should distribute these for any particular difficulty, but I think that the best way to do this is to put 2 of the treasures in each of the levels 3, 4, and 5. And then of course make sure that it's shuffled up really well. Then we have to stack it so that the highest level cards are on top. So we go, here's level 6, over 5, over 4, 3, 2, and 1. And here is our completed dungeon stack. So we have our hero here in the middle, and we of course have to also shuffle up the dead ends and the stairs up. And then we deal them randomly around our hero. Now in the instructions, the game suggests that you take this card and move it around to show which corridor your hero's going down, but I find it easier to just keep him off to the side and use a token, so this little cube doesn't slide off. But now that you have kind of this little rondel of corridors, then what you have to do is you take your dungeon deck, and starting anywhere, you start dealing them out clockwise, one at a time. Then we just shuffle up our starting cards, and we're about ready to begin. So we can choose to begin our search of this dungeon in any corridor that we want. Let's just start here. So then we flip over this top card to see what the threat is. Okay, so we're facing off against a classic Goblin Warrior. So we go to our draw pile and we take the top 5 cards. And let's see what we have. We have 3 shields and 2 swords. We see here that the goblin takes 2 shields and 1 sword to defeat. So we spend these, we discard them, and he's taken out of play. And then we discard the rest of our hand. Then we deal another 4 cards, and that's not enough, so we shuffle our discard. So now we have a fresh hand of 5, And if we wanted, we could move clockwise or counterclockwise to a different corridor, but I'm going to keep exploring this one. Alright, so here we have an empty corridor. This is basically a junk card. And when you get one of these, you have to shuffle it into your discard pile. It just takes up space in your hand, and the only way to get rid of it is to play a sword and a shield at the same time to get rid of it. But even if we have a sword and a shield right now, we still cannot spend them to get rid of this card, so these are all dealt into the discard pile. Let's see what's next. Alright, Giant Rat. This is a level 2 monster, so if we can't defeat this monster with 2 shields and 2 swords, we're going to take 2 damage. But let's see if we're lucky. So here's our junk card already. We have 3 swords and 2 shields, which is not enough. So we could decide to run and just take the damage, but I'm going to try to defeat this rat, because as you can see, if we defeat it, these 2 symbols here mean that we can add it to our discard pile. So we can start building up our deck with more and more powerful cards. So I'm here and I will take the 2 damage, so I'm down to 14. And then I can discard as many cards as I want. So first off, I spent these 2 to get rid of this junk corridor. And I'm going to hang on to these 2 and deal back up to 5. Okay, so we have 2 swords and 2 shields. So the giant rat is ours. The monsters are getting slightly more tricky, so let's move on to this corridor. A Goblin Miner. So he's not too hard, just 1 sword and 1 shield. 1, 2. Three, 4, 5. Easy peasy. More than enough. So all of these get discarded. Let's go again. Ooh, a blade trap. Okay, so traps are a little different. I have only 1 chance to disarm this trap. And if I can't do it this turn, then it just triggers and damages me, and this is gone from the game forever. Otherwise, if I can disable it this turn, then it's mine. And as you can see, it's very useful. It's 1 sword and 1 shield. So what do we have? Oh, I think we're very lucky. We have 3 shields and 1 sword. So there we go. You'll find yourself shuffling your discard pile a lot in these early stages of the game. I'm going to move over to this corridor. A baby dragon? Oh, I don't want to fight a baby dragon. It's so cute. We have to do what we have to do. So, maybe it's not so cute because we couldn't actually damage it this round. We need 2 shields and 2 swords, but we only have 1. So we're going to take that 1 damage and discard these 2 and hope that the right ones come up now. And there we go, 2 shields, 2 swords. And the baby dragon is ours. Oh, another junk card, but when we find a corridor, it means that we also have a chance to rest, so even though this is a junk card, we get 1 hit point back. Alright, an iron door. These are a little special, so I have to try to beat it the first time I see it, and if I can't beat it, then I have to move on to another corridor and resolve an encounter before I can come back and try again. Okay, we have just enough. We have 4 swords. and no trouble whatsoever, but the centipede doesn't give us anything, so we just discard him. Okay, so this is a hybrid card, and it doesn't exactly say in the rules, but what I think this means is that we can have either 3 swords or 3 shields. It can be either, but it can't be a mixture of both, is I think what that means. Junk. Well, we can spend 3 swords and get the Goblin Warrior, but I do not have another extra sword to get rid of this junk card, so it's going to have to go back in. Let's try over here. Poison gas door. So this is a trap, I believe. It needs 2 shields and 2 swords. So this one's special. It doesn't give us shields and swords, but it gives us the ability to discard our hand and redraw 5 cards. And we shuffled the discard again. Fire beetle. Two swords and plenty of shields. But the fire beetle is not useful for us. Alright, another trap. I have 3 shields and 1 sword, so I can get this. And let's move on before things get too tricky. A kobold archer. Okay, I have 3 shields, which is enough to take this guy out, but he's not really useful. But I don't have another shield to get rid of this junk card, so it's just gonna have to go back in. And that's another junk card. But at least we can get 1 health back. Okay, dungeon guard. 1, 2. Two shields, 3 swords. Good, just enough. Let's move on again. Okay, snake door. And this is a trap, I believe. Oh no, look at all this junk we have. Okay, we have 1 sword. We only have 3 shields and 2 junk cards. So I can still spend my sword and my shield and my sword and my shield to get rid of these 2 junk cards, but I do take damage. And I lose this forever. Ooh, level 3 monster. Maybe I shouldn't have stayed here so long. So I need 5 of something. 1, 2, 3. Not enough shields. Not enough swords. So here's what I can do. I can either spend 2 shields to negate 1 point of damage that will come from this wizard, but it might be useful to save this for the next turn because we already have 3 shields. So I'm going to hang on to this and take the damage down to 11. And let's see if we can't find more shields. Good. Very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But he's not useful. Another door. 1, 2. Three shields, 2 swords. 3 shields and 2 swords, so perfect. This guy might be tough. Okay. Nope, we've got it. 1, 2, 3 shields, 1, 2 swords. Let's move on before things get too hard, though. Okay, giant cobra. 1, 2, 3. Good. We have enough swords and 1, 2, 3, 4 shields, so giant cobra is ours. Let's move on. Giant baby spiders. We have 2 shields and 1, 2, 3, 4 swords. That's enough, but we don't get to keep these. Two, 3, 4, 5. Trap. So this is where this other trap card will come in handy, because we only have 1, 2, yeah, we have enough shields, but we don't have enough swords. So I'm just going to discard my whole hand and redraw 5 cards. Two, 3, good. And we've overcome. And here's a junk card. Another junk card. Let's get out of here. Okay, so we need 5 of one thing. 1, 2, 3, 4 shields, or 1, 2, 3. Nope, we don't have enough, so we're just gonna have to move on. And we have to solve at least 1 encounter before we can come back. But now we have a door that's showing, so if we have to run away from other monsters, they're going to be able to slowly catch up with us by moving towards the door, so we don't want to leave this here too long. Okay, Morningstar Trap. Can we do it? 1, 2, 3 shields, 1 sword. This is good. Draw 2 cards from your deck, keep 1, discard the other. That's very good. So let's go back and see if we can open this door. One, 2, oh no, junk, 3, 4. No, still not. I'm going to spend a sword and a shield to get rid of this junk card, though. In fact, I could spend a sword and a shield to get rid of any of these cards if I want. So, for example, these are very good, and this is my starting card, so maybe I don't want it, so maybe I'll help slim down my hand by getting rid of, or by spending a sword and a shield to get rid of this. And we have to come back later. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3 shields and 1, only 1. Only 1 sword. Let's spend a sword and a shield to get rid of this. And then we'll spend the poison gas door to draw 5 cards. This any better? 1, 2, 3 shields, 1, 2 swords. Perfect. Even though he's not really useful. I want the Goblin Archer because he'll let me draw an additional 2 cards. 1. Oh, good, that's enough swords. Okay, so that's definitely enough swords. and we have 1 shield, so we need 2 more. And the Morning Star Trap will let us draw 2 cards from the deck, keep 1, discard the other. So let's keep this. Oh no, we still don't have enough. So we're gonna have to take that damage. 3 points of damage. And let's discard these 2 and see if we can beat him this round. Yes. And we can add him to our discard pile. Alright, let's try this door again. One, 2, 3 shields. No. We're not getting through this door. Ooh, a potion of healing. So this is very good, our first treasure. We can use it immediately to heal 6 points of health damage, but then we have to destroy it after we use it. But we can equip that. Let's keep going. Ring of Power, another treasure. Okay, so this one's really good. So it says Ring of Power can be used once per turn and rotated to the left or the right for either 1 sword or 1 shield. So very, very useful. Amulet of Death. Oh my goodness, all of the treasures are just sitting here for me to take. Amulet of Death can be used to immediately produce 3 swords, and then you turn it 90 degrees, and then you have to play another 2 shields in order to reset it. So that's great. Let's move on. And another junk card. Fire Trap. So we need 2 shields and 1, 2. So I need 2 shields, which we have, and we need 3 swords, which we would not have, except I have my Ring of Power. So that's great. Go here. Another junk card. Oh no. Monster Door. And 2. See, 1 shield. 2 shields because of my Ring of Power. And 3 swords. No problem. The Goblin Warrior. If I have this guy, then I can search my discard pile for 1 card and add it to my hand, so that would be super useful. He is a level 4 monster, so let's see if we can take him down. Oh no. So I do need 3 shields, but I need 4 swords, and this is junk. So I'm going to spend a sword and a shield to get rid of this junk card. Then I'm going to have to take this damage. We're down to 7. And let's hope we can do it this time. No, more junk! Okay, we have 1, 2, 3 shields. Discard hand, redraw 5 cards. So let's spend this to get rid of this junk. And then let's redraw 5 cards. Oop. 1, 2, 3 shields, and 1, 2, not enough swords. Ah, but we have our Amulet of Death, so let's rotate it, and that gives us 3. 4. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And we have to spend 2 shields to rotate this back. So here we go. Ooh, creeping death. Okay, so I have a Goblin Archer will let me draw 2 cards from my deck. Very good, so now I can have 6 cards. Ooh, and the Morningstar Trap. First gotta shuffle the discard. Draw 2 cards, keep one, discard the other. So we need, let's see, 1, 2, 3, how about that? So we need 4 shields, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. We did it. Let's keep going. No. Death Knight. Wow, 6 swords and 3 shields to beat this guy. Ooh, I have 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. And 1. 2 if I use this. Let's keep fighting. So we take 5 damage, and we're down to 3 health. That's not good. Let's see. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swords. We have enough. And 1, 2, 3 shields. So we just barely managed. It would probably be smarter for me to start heading in this direction, but let's see if we can push our luck and see if we can find out if this is the stairway we need. Cave Giant. We need 5 shields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have that. Search our discard pile for a card and add it to our hand. So let's do that. Take the Giant Cobra. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have enough shields. We have 3, 4. So close. Let's continue to push our luck. Let's spend this and get 6 health points. So we're up to 9. And let's discard this one and try again. Draw another one. Draw 2 cards from your deck. Very good. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shields. More than enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we managed to beat the Cave Giant. He is a one-time use card, so we can destroy this card to destroy 1 monster later on. So let's see what we have here. No, a dead end. So we just completely wasted our time going all the way down here. The 4 stairways are going to be somewhere around here. So in any case, I think you understand how this game works now. So let's talk about it. Alright, so that was Dungeon Flea. As usual, I am going to start with the build for this game. Now this game is easy to build. It is simply a large deck of cards. There's 81 of these cards, but there's nothing really too crazy or difficult to make. So let's talk a little bit about the visual style of this game. There are really a ton of different pieces of art. I really appreciate how there's so many different monsters and everything looks really good with a cohesive color palette. The only thing I would have to say is that the art could maybe be a little bit higher resolution. It comes out a little bit blurry. I would have appreciated a bit higher resolution, as I do have a pretty nice laser printer and I think it could have come out looking really sharp, but even being a little bit blurry looking, I still think this game looks pretty good. What's neat about this game is it kind of begins with a prologue with a whole backstory. You are an adventurer who is in a massive dungeon complex and you fall down a big hole, and what you're trying to do is find 4 sets of staircases that will lead you to the surface. This is a dungeon crawler where you are attempting to get out of the dungeon. Your goal isn't necessarily to collect loot or defeat monsters. You will do that as a byproduct of your exploring, but your one and only objective is just to flee the dungeon. So let's get into what I like about this game. Aside from the whole look and the backstory, I enjoy the flavor. It's very classic. You could say that it's almost generic because it is just your typical fantasy, but I don't care how many times it's been done, I still love the classic fantasy dungeon crawling theme, and I don't think I'm ever really going to get tired of it. One thing I do have to say though is that it would have been really great if we had been given maybe one more hero card to choose from. I know this really doesn't seem like a big deal, but if there was another hero tracker that had a female hero on it, I think that I wouldn't be the only woman who would really appreciate having a little bit of representation. I know that I enjoy One Deck Dungeon because it's a great game, but I also just enjoy having female characters for once. And I don't think it would be really a lot of work to just add one more card, so that's my request to the designer, is maybe just add 1 or 2 different heroes that you can pick from. They don't really need to be different in any way except for their looks. It makes a really big difference for gamers who are into theme and really want to get immersed into your game. So 2 things I love in gaming are dungeon crawlers and deck builders, and this one is both. And I must say it is a very good combination. One of my favorite things in games is multi-use cards. I love how when you defeat enemies, you can add them to your discard pile and use them again later. The process of adding more cards to your deck and even being able to remove cards that you don't want is really great, and it just feels good and natural. The rules in this game are pretty simple and not overly complicated. I would say that the most complicated part of this game is actually getting it set up, but it's not actually difficult once you know what you're doing, it just takes a little time. So overall I would say that the manual is pretty good, and it lays out a backstory and it does a pretty decent job of teaching you how to play the game. But one criticism I do have is that it leaves a couple of things out. I don't think the manual explains where you were supposed to put the treasure cards, and so I just had to kind of guess that I would mix them in wherever it made sense. But it would be nice if that was fixed, maybe going forward. The designer also let me know that you can adjust the difficulty of this game by changing the number of corridors that are in the deck, or by potentially reducing the magic items. But this is not in the manual, and I think it would have been great if it was. I think it's pretty easy for the player to adjust the difficulty to their own taste, but as always, I really appreciate having an official, easy, normal, hard, expert difficulty mode to compare myself against. That said, I think that the difficulty of the normal game is pretty good, and it's not too hard, but definitely not easy. I think it's just about right, and if I ever find myself getting really good at this game, I might just remove maybe the Amulet of Death or the magic ring that can give you 1 bonus sword or shield per turn. These items are huge game changers and will really affect the difficulty of the game if you get them early on. So aside from the art that could maybe be a little bit higher resolution and the rulebook that maybe could be a bit more clearly written and a little bit more complete, I don't have a lot of criticism for this game. I think that the gameplay is really good, really smooth, honestly pretty intuitive once you get going. The flow of combat is satisfying and rewarding, and the suspense is real when you're getting to the bottom of that deck and you are just waiting to see if this is actually a staircase up or if it's a dead end. The Lich Boss is a tough encounter, and I'm always worried that I'm going to run into him. He doesn't necessarily show up in every single game, depending on if you're lucky or not, but when he does show up, I know I'm in for a tough fight. So, should you play this game? Yes, I really think you should. If you like dungeon crawlers, I think you'll like this game. If you like deck builders, I think you'll like this game. And if you like both, then you might love this game. I think that the portability is really great, and aside from the slightly long setup time, it's not hard to get this to the table. It's easy to learn, but has surprising depth once you get into it, and I'm really looking forward to my further adventures escaping from this dungeon. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, then please subscribe because that would help out the channel so much. If you'd like, you can also help support the channel by becoming a patron on Patreon. There's also the Facebook group for all things solo gaming. So until next time, friends, happy adventuring.